Let's get into Old Grandad 16 and see if it's as bad as everyone on WhiskeyTube is claiming. This very old Grandad expression, aged a minimum of 16 years, pays homage to the brand's legacy as one of the industry's preeminent whiskeys of its time. Historically inspired by vintage releases, this fine bourbon is cut to 100 proof to reach its optimal and distinctively classic OGD flavor and is sold at an SRP of around $200. All right, guys, welcome back to the Whiskey Tornado. I'm your host, Lance. Let's get into this bottle. I gotta tell you, I have actually seen some reviews on this, and they haven't been great. And I don't know if it's because of the price or the proof or what, but let's get into this. I'm excited to review it for you guys. We're coming down to the end of the year, and our Bourbon of the Year stream, which will be sometime in December before Christmas, is coming up. So it's allocation season. There's so many bourbons coming out, and from what I've tasted, there are a lot of good ones sneaking in our Bourbon of the Year running here at the end of the year. So what we're gonna do is nose this, taste this. I'll talk about the finish. At the end of the video, I'm gonna tell you guys whether it's a buy, pass, or bunker some based on where you are in your bourbon journey. I think that's something a little bit different about our channel. I like to review the whiskeys for bourbon beginners, bourbon intermediates, and bourbon aficionados, because not everyone's in the same place. So let's get a nose on this guy. Good Lord. The nose on this is phenomenal. It is A+ for me. It's super dark, super rich, very concentrated. We reviewed the Discovery 12, which was more like dark fruit, but not as much sweet, dark, aged oak. This is more of that dark, aged oak that I absolutely love. Has a very like dusty-esque quality to it, which is, I mean, what you'd want for OGD, for Old Grandad 16. I mean, black cherries, super dark black cherries, but this like confectionery, sweet sugar kind of thing just kind of hangs over all of those notes. It's dark, it's rich, it's sugary, it's sweet oak. If you smell this and you've been into bourbon for a while, you know you're smelling something that's aged, clearly at 16 years. Before we get into the palate, let's talk about the marketing on this. This is Old Grandad 16. It's the same mash bill as Basil Hayden. And you know, Beam masterfully, if you came out with a Basil Hayden 16, I don't know if you could sell it for $120, but you put this classic label on it with this beautiful ribbon, this beautiful old school looking label. As a marketing guy, A+ on the labeling and the marketing, Jim Beam. This is phenomenal. I'm excited before I even get into the palate. I'm excited just getting a bottle of this. So let's get into the palate. First sip, everybody. Oh, it's so good. What are people talking about, man? I've seen so many reviews and people are like really down on this. That first sip was beautiful. It's dark, aged, sweet oak, not drying oak. Blackberries or like a black cherry, like a really dark berry or cherry, mixed in with that beautiful sweet aged oak that I absolutely love. It's not drying, it's not overly tannic, just really nice. Let's get into the second sip. Golly, I love this. I don't know what people are talking about, man. Second sip is more like a burnt brown sugar. I was getting some like orange spice on there, like Christmas orange spice almost. Making my toes curl, man. That's delicious. I don't know, guys. I don't know if people are disappointed with the price tag. I don't know if they're disappointed with the proof. I love the proof on it. I will say, when you nose this, it is reminiscent of Dusty's in that when you smell a Dusty, and by dusty, I mean very old bourbon if you're a bourbon beginner. When you smell some of those old bourbons that have a lower proof of around 80, the nose always beats the palate for me. And the palate, while good, almost tastes a little watered down in some of those dusties. This doesn't taste watered down, but the palate tastes watered down compared to the nose, if that makes sense. You feel like there's going to be a little bit more there on the palate, and maybe that's where some people are a little disappointed, especially if people have been into bourbon for a long time and they're used to drinking 120 to 130 proof. But I tell you guys, I've been gravitating more towards 115 and even a lot of 100 proof bourbons lately because the balance is better for me. And this is extremely balanced, I think. So let me take another sip. God, it is reminiscent of a dusty, man. It's got some of those cherry notes, but the cherry notes are background to that sweet oak that we all crave. It's not overly tannic, and that's really an impressive feat for anything over 15 years old. It's just really well balanced. I absolutely love this. Let me take one last sip here, and we'll talk about the finish. The finish, this is going to sound a little contradictory. The finish to me is really good finish for 100 proof. It's not the finish I'm looking for at a $200 bottle. The finish is kind of a medium finish. It's a great finish at 100 proof though. There aren't many 100 proof bourbons that have a finish that's that good. But for a $200 bottle, we are talking about premium price tag. I do want a little bit longer of a finish, but I'm not mad at this at all. You know, this is an expensive bottle. We're talking premium. I really feel like you get your money's worth here, which I know is crazy because I reviewed the Russell's 15 and I wasn't crazy about the price point at $250. This would be, I mean, obviously better at $150, but it's such an iconic brand and it's such a throwback and a cool limited edition that I don't mind paying a little bit extra. The whiskey to me does not disappoint. I will be looking for a backup of this bottle. I absolutely love this thing. It is a monster of a whiskey to me. It highlights all the beauties of a well-aged whiskey and even harkens back to some of the dusties that I've had, just at a little bit higher of a proof. So for me, this is fantastic. Now let's talk about whether this is a buy, pass, or bunker based on where you are in your bourbon journey. For beginners, I think that this is probably, you know, it's going to depend on what is in your budget. I do believe a lot of beginners will think this is too heavy on the oak, and you might not appreciate those aged notes. The proof is right for you, so some of you might really like it. The price tag, though, for a beginner whiskey, I mean, it's high. It's up there, so I don't know if this is really going to be a buy for most beginners. I would probably say this is a pass for most beginners. Intermediates, it's all going to depend on what you have in your budget. I think that it is a beautiful whiskey. It will show you what good aged dusties could taste like. I think you'll get a lot of value out of at least tasting it in a bar, but it depends on your budget. And for bourbon aficionados, again, this is a thing that if you love the history of bourbon, I think this is a bottle you have to seek out, you have to get on your shelf. If you're adverse to those aged oak notes and you want more of a fruity kind of bourbon, then maybe this is a pass for you. But I think most bourbon aficionados, this is a buy. It's a very cool limited edition that harkens back to some dusties, even has some dusty kind of notes to it. I think it's a really well-balanced bourbon for what it is. I am not mad that I paid $200 for it. So I would say it's a buy if you're a bourbon aficionado and you can fit it in your budget. All right, guys, that about does it for this episode. I think this is going to be in my Bourbon of the Year running. I really do. I think we'll put this in our Bourbon of the Year blind. I will be interested to see how it holds up at that 100 proof. But I think it's going to knock some socks off in our blind at the end of the year with our Patreon members. If you guys like this episode and want to support the channel, head on over to our Patreon crew. We are starting a barrel pick club where I'm going to do 4 to 6 picks a year. Those tiers are filling up very fast, but get in now before we start doing our barrel picks to secure your spot. You can join for as little as $2 a month. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps our channel grow. We love you guys very much, and we will see you on the next episode of The Whiskey Tornado. I'm going to get one more sip of this guy. Some of those channels don't know what they're talking about, guys. That is phenomenal.